Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignertechtips.com. Well, in our last video we showed you 3 little button over image hover effects. Really easy to do, nice little features to have. In this video today we're going to show you 3 little image effects. I've got one here. When you hover over it, it's going to kind of morph into another image. And of course you can pop that image out into a lightbox or send them to a link if you prefer. Next one, I've got an image dropping down, and of course again you can lightbox it or send them to a URL. And the one over here, we've got an image popping in from the right hand side, and again if you want to you can click on it, lightbox it or send them to a URL. Really easy to do, no coding involved in this today at all. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the visual builder. Once enabled, let's go down and we'll create a new row and start from scratch. Little green button to add a new row. As we got 3 effects, I'm going to use 3 columns in my row again. And I'm going to use an image module for this, funnily enough. If we roll down, there's the image module. And this image is the one that we're going to want to see when we hover over the top of it. So let's do the opposite. Let's actually use this one, and in the background we want to put the one that we want to see initially. So we'll save our changes here. Going to go into the row, the green tab for the row. Going to go into my first column here, down to background, and we're going to put in the image that we want to see first. So let's pop in that fella. I'm going to save that. It'll take us back to the row. Save again. And we'll go back into our module and we'll make this hover effect happen. If I roll up just a little bit, I'm going to go over to my design and down to my filters to do this today. Initially, I'm going to drag my hue up to about 140 degrees, well actually halfway would be 180 degrees. So it completely flips all those colors around. Then when they hover over it, because we're going to have this image fade in, I'm going to bring that down to 0. Common to all Divi modules, just hover over the dark writing. If there's an arrow there, we can create a hover state. So desktop, I want it flipped to 180 degrees. You can increment up and down with the little arrows there to fine tune if you want to. Then when they hover over it, I want it to go back to the original color, just like that. Because that's when we're going to be actually looking at it when they're hovering over it. I'm going to do a similar thing for saturation. I'm going to get the little arrow up. When they hover over it, I want it to be 100% normal saturation. But before it comes in and while it's fading in, desktop, I'm going to roll it up to about 200%. So it's kind of blurry saturated there, which is fine. Brightness is fine. I'm going to leave that as it is. I'm just going to go down to my opacity now. Actually, before I do the opacity, I'm going to do the blur because I want it to be really blurred initially as it's fading in and then sharp when it gets here. So again, I'm going to hit the little arrow, desktop state. I'm going to bring the blur up to about 20 pixels or something like that. It's pretty blurred like this. In fact, 10 is probably going to do it like that. Then when they hover over it, I want it to be nice and sharp. Great. But of course we don't want to see it at all. We just want to see this fella actually initially. So opacity just above. Going to hit the little arrow. Desktop. Don't want to see any of that robot whatsoever. Just want to see that young fella. Then when we hover over, I want it to come back in and show that robot. Now because we got the blur and our saturation and the hue going on, I'm going to make this really slow because the time it takes to get between desktop and hovered with Divi by default is 300 milliseconds, which is pretty quick. I'm going to slow this down all the way by going over to advanced transitions. I'm going to slow it down to 5 seconds. If you slide this up and it only takes you to 2 seconds, 2000 milliseconds, just type in the value that you want. So I'm going to put 5000 milliseconds. And my transition speed curve I like to use is ease in, ease out. Don't want any delay, want it to start as soon as they put their mouse over it. So if we go back to design now in any of these and click on the hover state, if I click back now, it's going to take 5 seconds. And it's going to blur and it's going to saturate. It's going to do all those crazy things. Give you an almost morph effect, which I think is quite nice. Great. Well, that's our first one done there. Let's move on and do our second one, which we want to drop down from the top. So again, I'm going to use an image. This is the image that we want to drop down, remember. I'm going to click on it, and we'll pop that young lady in. We'll just save this. I want to go into the column again, put down the image that we want to see initially. We're in the middle column. Going to go to background. Going to add the image. And we'll use this one perhaps. We want to go over to our advanced now, make sure any overflow is hidden, because we're going to push this all the way up here and have it drop down. So advanced, visibility. Here's horizontal and vertical overflow. I'm going to switch them both to hidden. And we're good to go. We'll save our changes, save the row changes. And let's make this happen. Really easy to do. Going to go into this image. Now you may have noticed there's a crazy number there when I hover over the image. That's actually the name of the image, and I really don't want that there. You can change it to something pertinent, or you can make it disappear completely by going over to the advanced attributes. There it is right there. Take it out. You don't have that. Of course, you can put in whatever you want there and have it say that. I don't want anything. Great. Okay, well, we want to push this way up out of the way here. So let's go over to our design. We're going to go to spacing to do this. Initially, I want to see that robot picture. So I'm going to push this all the way out of the way by using some negative margin padding top. So I'm going to say negative 100%. It's still there, but it's disappeared at the top. And you can't see the image behind because there's no depth to this column. The column's all the way up there. So to counter that, I'm going to put padding on the bottom, 100%, 100, and the percent sign. Great, well, we can see our image now. And to get our young lady to drop back in, we can hover up over the margin right here. Desktop's fine at 100%. When they hover over, I'm going to put a 0 in there. And I need to get rid of that padding on the bottom there. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Make sure you hover up and get the arrow up for the padding. Don't just type it in because you've got the hover state up there. For hover state, 0. And again, I'm going to slow it down for a bit of drama. Let's slow it down to about a second. Over in advanced, we know how to do that. Transitions. 1000 milliseconds is a second. And my ease in, ease out. Fantastic. And we'll test these all out on the front end in a moment. Now for our third one, we had it sliding in from the right. Let's go in there. Again, I'm going to use an image. I don't know if I mentioned before, in the links where you can choose either to open it in a lightbox, or if you have that off, you can put a link in there and take them to any URL you want. I'm going to have mine open in a lightbox. Again, I'm going to save that. We'll go into the row and we'll put the image in that we want to see initially, because we're only going to see this one when we slide it in a moment. Back into the green tab for the row. We're working on column 3. Let's move this out of the way so we can see. Background. Put this fella in. And because we're going to be sliding this over here initially to bring it back, we need to go over to the advanced and change the visibility settings again from default to hidden on both horizontal and vertical overflow. Great. Now let's make this happen over here. Back into our image. Over to design and spacing. And because of the last one we did, I imagine some of you are ahead of me here. I'm going to use some negative margin on the right to pull it over. Negative 100 and a percent sign. And to counter the shape, we've got to put some padding on the left. So I'll say 100%. That'll keep the same aspect ratio there. Fantastic. Then when they hover over it, like I say, you're probably ahead of me on this. Get the hover state up. I'm going to put 0 there. And we've got to counter that left padding as well on that. So I'm going to hit the little arrow for the padding. Make sure you hit the arrow on this. Don't just presume it's up because you've got it up here. I'm going to put a 0 there. And we're back to the robot. And again, the time it takes to go from one to the other, it's too quick for me. You can't see it sliding in. Again, I'm going to put this down to maybe second 20 or 750, whatever works for you. Let's say 750 mils. 3/4 of a second. And again, my ease in, ease out. And we should be good to go. One other thing, if you're going to use these on tablet and mobile, like we did yesterday, I put a little tap here for more info that only appears on tablet and mobile. So let's do that for these as well. I'm going to put a little row up here. Put a single column in it. I'm going to use a text module. And we'll say tap to switch images. I'm going to pop that in the middle. And the reason we're doing this is because when you hover on desktop, it's going to do it. But on tablet and mobile, it won't do it until they actually tap on it. And I want to hide this on desktop. I don't want to see it on the desktop. So I'm going to go to Advanced and Visibility again. I'm going to say Disable on desktop. It'll grey it out to let you know it's not there on desktop. It'll only appear now on tablet and mobile. Let them know that they can tap on these to switch images. So let's save our changes. Make sure this is all going to work. Save draft or publish if you're ready. And let's exit the Visual Builder. And let's roll down. There's our first one when I put my mouse on it. It's going to take 5 seconds to sort of morph into that other image. Of course, we've got a lightbox effect on there. And when you take your mouse off, it's going to take 5 seconds to morph back. And of course, you can have the lightbox effect on there, or you can put a URL in to take them wherever you want to when they click on it. I've got lightbox on that one. I've got lightbox on all of these actually. Our next one here looks like I put the images the wrong way around there. It's going to drop in. There we have it. Again, we've got a lightbox. And our third one here, we got that fella, and we got the little robot popping in from the right hand side. And again, we got a little lightbox going on with that one. Great effects to have on your site. People are mousing around. That's really going to get their attention quickly when these sort of things happen. So let's check this and make sure that it works on tablet and mobile. I'm going to hit my F12 key. Here we are on an iPhone. Let's roll down a little bit. Remember we put that in there, tap to switch images. That's only going to show up on phone and tablet. This one's not going to work so well because when we tap on it, it's going to pop out into a light box. But they get that morph effect when they come out of it. This next one will work fine. When we tap on it, it's going to drop down. And this young fella, or old fella I should say, when we tap on it, it's going to pop in from that side. Let's have a look on a iPad Air. And again, it's going to pop out into a light box. And it's going to do that little fade out when you come out of there. This one will work fine. Going to drop down. And this one, it's going to pop in from that side. Great. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them down below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video like this one. Once again, this has been Jamie from System 22 and webdesignertechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.